I feel the same way. That's a very few number. Man, the passion, energy from our fan base. I've been in a lot of competitive arenas as a player and as a coach. There was nothing better that I've ever been in than what happened on Saturday night.
And we got a lot of dudes, man. I mean, a lot of RLDs, real live dudes that are flying around, and we should wreck shop.
Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 cents for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait and you'll see.
There on the field, the pride of the Southland band crisply marches into the Giant T. The rear, the roar of 97,000 fans rises with each rhythmic step. In the background, George Beatsis is singing "Fight, Balls, Fight." The orange and white Shakers flood the air. The Volunteers are ready at the north end of the football field to burst through the gate. They're coming now, racing onto the field through the Giant T. In that magic moment that says, wherever you are, it's football time in Tennessee.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
We still didn't talk about this.
I think we just changed the order last week.
I'm VAWLS JP.
Oh, now it's going backwards.
And I'm Dauber. What's happening, guys?
Oh, it's well rehearsed. It's well rehearsed. You can tell that we sit down, we iron it out, we discuss what we're going to say to open the show. Welcome to part two of the 2022 season preview. We're going to break down the defense tonight. We're going to talk about the struggles. We're going to talk about how this Josh Heupel offense impacts that defense. We'll get into it, but more importantly, we will get your comments. We've already got 107 people hanging out on this Wednesday night in July. Let me tell you guys something. It's July. It is July. Typically for the Talkin VAWLS Network, July is the slowest month of the year. We are trending for the biggest month in the history of this channel outside of December of last year. I'm talking post-game shows, midweek shows. July has set itself up to be the biggest month in the history of this channel, and that is because you guys, the listeners, you guys make this thing what it is. For the fans, by the fans. Before we get going, make sure you guys do me a favor. Smash the thumbs up real quick, right down there below that blue shirt. Dude down below me there. Hit that thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We are fans just like you. So if you dig what we do, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You won't miss out when we go live or drop a video. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out. Sammy P, first in the house. Early arrival, dropping that Ric Flair woo. If you guys see JP sidetrack, I gotta take a sidetrack. I got to take a sidetrack because he's dropping that Ric Flair woo in the chat, and you know what that means.
To be the man, you got to beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
Have you seen that Ric Flair's coming out of retirement?
Yeah, and I'm about to pay the $39 to watch it.
To see if he makes it through the match alive?
Yeah. He will. I mean, I haven't watched wrestling in several years, but I'd about say that he could outperform some of those jobbers that they put out there now.
Unbelievable. The Nature Boy, I think he's 117 years old. Let's see who else is hanging out. Robert Clark was here, says, I guess I will never be first. As long as you're here, that's all that matters. Swamp Donkey Sniper in the house. Dakota VFL is here. What is up, Dakota? Good to see you in the chat. My friend, who else we got? DS 4570 dropping all kinds of profanity in the chat. Brad is here. What's up, Brad? John Hill in the chat. Too old to be first, but John Hill follows it up with a $10 super chat. We appreciate that tip in the old tip jar. John says, Banks, the animal, has to be more disciplined this year. Got to get pressure on the quarterbacks and prevent them from scrambling so much. Yeah, we're going to get into it and talk about that. Definitely third down.
Close up and end the podcast right now.
We're done. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Check out the merchandise. You guys know where to get that. We'll see you guys next week. No, for real. Yeah, we'll get into it. Talk about it. Tim Bradley in that Tim Banks.
Your BY.
I thought Tim Banks was here, but it's just Tim Bradley. Everybody calm down. Calm down for just a second. Thinks the defense may be a little better than we expect this year. If they can find a way to get off the field enough times, this Tennessee team will be dangerous. Volunteered 77 in the house. The kid, Elijah Allen, is here. Guys, come on in. Smash the thumbs up. We're about to get rolling. Do us a favor. Share out the link. Hit that share button. Blast it out. Put it on Twitter. Put it on Facebook. Let somebody know we're live. Help us continue to grow this channel. We would greatly appreciate it. Dauber, let's jump right into it. Look, coming right out of the gate, that's the thing we talked about right before we went live, and then people are already talking about it in the chat. I don't think this defense has to be elite. They've just got to be efficient, and when you look at third down efficiency, next to last in the SEC, only the Missouri Tigers were worse than Tennessee last year on third down defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's – and you touched on it. It's a byproduct of the scheme and offensive design that Heupel has. You're talking about defense that spent over 1,000 plays on the field, averaged 35 minutes a game on the field. So that is where the depth is questioned. And I think last year you saw there's just a talent gap, and you're also playing some guys that don't necessarily fit the system, that aren't ready, and they weren't conditioned and ready to be on the field for that length of time. That's the game. So it's one of those things. It's yet to be seen. Third down. They got to get off the field on third down.
Trying to talk to the chat while I listen to Dauber talk at the same time. Obviously got to get better on third down. Even fourth down, they struggled at times. But, talking about Josh Heupel's offense, Brad, let me know in the chat. Is that better? Turn this mic up just a little bit. Let me know if that audio is good now. Do you think Josh Heupel's offense, when you look at numbers, a lot of people like to look at numbers and stats and yards per game. It's kind of irrelevant for me. Third down efficiency is more important for this Josh Heupel coach football team, because obviously they're going to give up more yards, right? The opposing team is going to run more plays. So don't you think third down efficiency is more of a priority? Scoring defense, third down efficiency, that's all I really care about.
Definitely so for me, because that's what this team struggled with so much with last year was just being able to get that stop on third down to give the offense the ball, and obviously to give this defense more time to rest. So yeah, exactly what Dauber said. That is going to be a huge key to it. And yeah, Boogie, with the way that the offense is, there's no doubt about it that this team is going to just historically year after year that there's going to be more yards given up on defense. There's going to be more high scoring games, all of that. But if this defense could just find a way to get 2 or 3 additional stops a game. Just imagine, I would dare say that would have resulted in probably a couple of more wins last year.
Well, and it's not keeping them off the scoreboard. It's holding them to a field goal instead of a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And it's flipping the field. It's a whole lot of things. The defense, like Boogie said, they don't have to be elite. They just have to, and I hate the adage, bend but don't break. What it is, to me, the defense has to do just enough to allow the offense to do what they do.
Yeah, and building that depth mm-hmm. is going to be so key. We talked about that. I think last week some, but that's the key, is to be able to get quality depth, because with the way that the offense is and as much time that this defense is going to be on the field, you need to be able to go too deep, in just about every single position and not have that huge drop off, because then you can get fresh pass rushers out there. You can get guys that can cover, because I mean I couldn't imagine as many plays as Tennessee ran last year on defense. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing at how durable Matthew Butler was. I mean, just crazy. I think he played over 700 and some snaps. I think
he was
I think he
definitely a
played
workhorse.
more. I think he played more snaps than anybody on the team.
Yeah, and the fact that he's in a position that he's getting hit every single time. I mean, every single play that guy was getting hit by at least one guy, if not multiple. Just a remarkable season that he had, just far as being as durable as he was, and dependable, and that leads into that is who's going to step up. Is it going to be by committee, or is Rodney Garner going to find him another
diamond in the rough?
Diamond in the rough, and be able to develop them. I mean, my bet that Garner's going to find him one or two this year that's going to play extremely well on the defensive line.
Well, we saw how much better they got last year. In the spring, it was the offensive line is whipping the defensive line. That's all we heard all spring long. But you let Coach Garner do what he does, and that's develop talent. They got better as the season went on. Let me hit this super chat real quick. Hopkins, the cross man, good to see you in the chat, buddy. Good evening, gentlemen. In New Jersey on business, but love these midsummer shows. Seeing the VAWLS. The VAWLS. Is that what we are? The VAWLS. Kind of like that.
There's your another shirt, Boogie.
Well, I wanted to do the Abbey Road shirt at one time, and it was so complex. We started it, never finished it. But good to see the VAWLS back together. It's fantastic. Go Big Orange. Thanks, Hop. Appreciate that super chat, buddy. Jumping back into what JP talking about with Rodney Garner, because particularly the defensive line, that's where it all starts. We talk all the time about getting after the quarterback, and they got to be better at it. They got to add depth there. And it starts with recruiting, right? If you're going to add that depth, it's going to happen on the recruiting trail. And you look what Rodney Garner has done in just 1.5 class. Look, we're not even through the class of 23 yet, but adding James Pierce, how big was that guy? Joshua Josephs is a guy that I don't know that he necessarily makes an impact this year, but he's starting to add that depth. When you really look at the class of 22 and the class of 23, and you look at Rodney Garner, what's he want to rotate? 8 to 10 guys, I think he's talked about, rotating. Like you mentioned, JP, keep them fresh, keep getting after the quarterback. You look at James Pierce, Joshua Josephs. Now you got Herring in the boat, and you've got Shandavion Bradley. You can't say enough how big it is to get 2 of those top 10 edge rushers in the class of 23. But you start building that depth, but then on top of that, what does BY got? BY's got another year after this, right? Isn't BY a junior?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, so Byron Young's going to be back. Tyler Barron, what's he? He is also a junior. So
junior. Yeah.
Your 2 edge guys are back.
Both of them could be back.
Yeah. So your 2 edge guys are back. You add Joshua Josephs. You add James Pierce. You add Herring. You add Bradley. And now you got 6 quality edge guys, Dauber. And iron sharpens iron, and that's when you can maybe take your top 4. And, let them compete. And that's how you build that depth. That's why it takes time to rebuild a roster. But I just think it's huge for what Rodney Garner's done on the recruiting trail.
Well, that's why we saw him take guys away from Tennessee in the 11th hour. He does work on the recruiting field, and you can't sleep on him. One of the best line coaches in the country, a guy that consistently puts players in the league. So if that's your spot and you're wanting to play on Sundays, man, why would you not want to come to Tennessee? You just look at his body of work, and that's a given. So you talk about the 2 kids coming in this year. You talk about the recruits that we've got committed for 23. Coach Gardner's he's getting it done. Now we got to see if those guys can step up and produce on the field. It's one thing to have stars and be evaluated, and it's another thing to get it done between the hashes.
Yeah, and with his with his track record, I mean, it'll be up to those players whether or not that they buy in and whether or not that they develop. You know, whether or not that they're a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, or no star, whatever that they are. You know, his track record speaks that if you buy into what he's coaching and you know what that he requires, you will improve as a football player. I mean, you know, just look at Butler last year, you know, and I think Amari Thomas made huge strides, you know, from the middle part of the season on, and you know, I think that Big O is going to be that defensive leader for us this year in the middle of that line for sure.
I think you may see Elijah Simmons step up a little bit too.
I mean, it would be awesome. Yeah.
Hampered by some injuries last year that kind of held him back. I think that kid's got so much potential.
Yeah, he does.
You look at somebody that size that can get up and dunk a basketball. I mean, that's athleticism right there. And it's putting it together. It's putting in the work under Coach Gardner, and it's getting it done on the field. And you know, like Boogie said, iron sharpens iron. These guys are pushing each other. I don't necessarily think that being named the starter is that big of a deal because on the defensive front, you're rotating guys. That's key. You got to keep guys fresh, and that allows you to do one thing that you know we have hit on some negative about the defense last year. One positive is they were top 10 in the country in tackles for loss. So they were getting behind the line of scrimmage. They weren't getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback per se, but they were making impact and causing negative plays in the backfield. So, you know, hopefully that's a trend that continues, and these guys are able to actually get some more solid pressure on the quarterback and not give guys time to sit back there and pick the secondary apart, because you know last year we went into the season thinking the secondary was going to be solid and nothing to worry about, and that was actually one of the weaker spots, even with the guys that left, even with the guys that went to the league and departed the team. The secondary was still a glaring weakness, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that there was some improvement there, but you know, getting some pressure on the quarterback is going to help that Dauber for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why they did it. It's a team sport, and there's 11 players out there, and they all have a job, and you know, if they all do their job, then it's going to make all of them look better. But yeah, I mean, you know, secondary, you know, really all three levels of this defense needs to step up. You know, we haven't even talked about the linebackers yet, which in my opinion is the most scariest part of this defense as far as my concerns with them for sure.
Yeah, I want to talk. Let me hit this super chat, then I want to talk about linebackers and secondary. John Hill for 10. Thank you for the super chat, John. Can we go ahead and play already? This is maddening having to wait until September, and then he's dropping those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Thank you for the super chat, John. I know, man. It's like it's July, and I'm still fired up. I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go. Dave Bays reminding you guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up. We're going to get into the depth chart and kind of break down each position group, but when we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about Rodney Garner, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see, and Dauber's right. It doesn't matter. Star rankings, 24/7, what they have to say doesn't really matter. It's all about the coaches, whether or not they can evaluate and develop talent, but you got to be excited about the way some of these players are trending that Rodney Garner got in the boat. But on the flip side of that, it is a huge concern for me. One of my biggest concerns is the lack of ability to go recruit big-time prospects. JP, you're talking about linebacker play at the inside linebacker position and also in the secondary. And yeah, I know we've got Jeremiah T-Lander and Jalen Smith committed in the class of 23. And when I watch those guys play, I like their speed. That's one thing that I do like. I like the speed that they bring. They're both track guys. You know, Georgia was pretty high on Jalen Smith, but he wasn't a take. I like those guys, but you're not getting those big-time, like, 5-star elite prospects at the linebacker position, and it also seems they're struggling in the secondary, particularly at corner. What do you think's to blame for that, JP? Do you put a little bit of that? Do you start to question Brian Jean-Marie and his ability to recruit? Do you question Willie Martinez, or what is it? And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not I'm genuinely asking, because they've missed not only on recruiting but also in the transfer portal at those two positions.
Well, to me, one of the biggest things is just the defense overall having to play with this offense. I have concerns with that as far as, how many snaps that they're going to be on the field, and with the type of offense that Tennessee runs, and that they're going to be worn out, and that's going to end up, it might possibly leading to injuries, or just not performing well. So I think that has part of it. But Biggie, I think that we still got to remember that, this was a 7-6 football team last year that most people thought was going to win four to 5 games with that. And I think that this NIL stuff, maybe next year, of course, like you was talking about, we got Bradley, who he's a 5-star on the defensive line. So, maybe next year that they look to go after, one of those top linebackers or defensive backs or something like that, and throw out some money there with that. But, I think it's the type of offense that Tennessee runs. It probably hurts them there. I think there's some, there's probably some coaches that mention that to these recruits, and then also the fact that this still is a football team that any way that you spin it, we lost to Purdue in the bowl game. Tennessee should never lose to Purdue in football. It just shouldn't happen. So
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here with you, JP, and then with Smokey Dobson there saying,
oh wow, he's calling somebody out in the chat.
that top players don't want to be on the field. Man, players want to play. They don't want to just go stand on the sideline. This is their interview to be playing on Sunday. So, that's the thing. You're not coming out to stand on the sideline and look pretty. You're coming out to lay a hit on somebody. On the defensive side of the ball, you're coming out to make your presence felt. Offensive side, you're coming out to be electrifying and score points. But and like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Really, it is. I think there is some reality to what you said. I think schematically, it is one of those negative points that is used against Tennessee in the recruiting pitch. But we talked about it last week. The NIL deal. The NIL and the transfer portal has changed the landscape of college football and recruiting so much. It's hard to really even know how it's going right now because it's all so new and it's all so ever changing. You've got guys that are going to jump in the portal after spring practices because getting in the portal, you can be contacted by other teams. You can be contacted by other NIL collectives, or you can. That's checking. What could be rolling into your bank account. So it's all until there are some frameworks and structures set to this. It's hard to speculate or answer any questions that lay any concrete details about recruiting. We just don't know.
And even when you go to the transfer portal, this is something that has been talked about a lot by the VAWLS guys. The top guys, Jordan Addison, goes in the transfer portal. He knew where he was going before he ever went in the portal. So how do you really regulate that, right?
Right.
There are back channel conversations being had, and Austin Price keeps saying it, and I think he's right. This upcoming offseason is going to be huge in the transfer portal because this past year, people didn't really get a grasp on what was going on. This year, they know what's going on, and they're going to play that transfer portal for more NIL money, just like you said, Dauber. That's what they're going to utilize it for.
Like Tyler Barron.
Yeah.
Throwing his name in the portal.
Right back to Tennessee.
Right back to Tennessee. You know, and I feel that all that was testing the waters, seeing what was out there. Because if your name's in the portal, you're allowed to have contact with other guys. So,
Buck wants JP to do the rest of the podcast with that helmet on.
It's got some kind of bar in it, so I can't.
You got to learn how to play the game, JP. You tell him for a $50 super chat, you'll put the helmet on.
Will that fit your big head?
No, it wouldn't fit. See, there's this bar that goes across it. So,
well, break it. Rip that thing out of there. That's got to be worth $50 to rip that bar out of there, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You can put your headphones on. Then,
I know.
Then you'd be like,
That's
can you hear me?
Yeah, it'd be just like every other
exactly
stream.
what it is.
Can you hear me? Let's go back talking about NIL again. You know, Darby, you kind of touched on it there. We mentioned it last week. You put a priority on what? What is the priority? Quarterback. Getting after the quarterback, protecting the quarterback. So when you talk about NIL and whether or not Tennessee has been successful thus far, you've got to say yes. You've got to say they've got two really good offensive tackles, maybe even three or four, depending on how you want to look at it. Aiden Bussell, 3-star. Trevor Duncan, he just tweeted out something just yesterday talking about playing on the defensive line. That guy, he's going to end up an offensive tackle. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. He's going to end up an offensive tackle. But they've got those guys. They've got the edge rushers. They've got the offensive tackle. So I think top to bottom, you've got to say that Spire Sports Group is doing the Lord's work. They have done a good job with NIL. And speaking of, I might as well go ahead and give them a little plug ski. Go ahead and give them a little plug ski. This is something that I was criticized of over at VAWLS on the message boards. They said, Boogie Bentley, you guys have 13,000 subscribers. You don't do a good enough job. I'm going to go ahead and criticize you. You don't do a good enough job advertising Spire Sports Group. So I want to advertise them. And this is not paid. They're not giving us any money. But look, if you want to make an impact in recruiting, this is how you do it. It's 2022. We're talking about NIL. This is the world we live in. You go to spiresports.com, hit join the volunteer club there on the top right, and then you're going to get all these different tiers that you can go and you can back, you can support, you can put money in the athlete's pocket. And, I said this last week. You can see right here, 90% of this money goes to NIL deals. And if you don't think that matters, if you don't think that's important, I don't know what to tell you, because NIL is what's changing the game. And I don't think enough people know. I don't think enough of Vol Nation really understands how important this is. We see guys like Ryan Day. We see Nick Saban in the public saying we need more money. JP, do you think Josh Heupel needs to come out and say it and just say, hey, Spire Sports Group, you need to support. We need more money if we're going to get back to winning championships.
I mean, I think if those other coaches are coming out and saying it, and these other schools are promoting it and supporting it, yes, I definitely think so. I mean, the only thing that I wonder there is there anything with the NCAA investigation, since that notice of allegations or whatever that they're still waiting on,
I got to be careful what I can.
That's the reason why that he's not doing it.
I got to be careful what I can and can't say, but I can basically confirm that Spire Sports Group has not been told to call off the dogs. That has not happened. That's internet rumor and innuendo. That is not fact. That is not the truth. That is not the case. That is not what is going on.
We were one of the first, if not the first, to bring James Clausen on and talk about NIL stuff last year. And even in doing that, things have changed since then. It is such a new and so many. I still don't know, a tenth of what's going on with it. But I mean, I don't know how many NIL shirts, and I'm doing my part to, support these athletes and do all that. But I think if Tennessee was in the shape that some of these other schools were, I think Heupel would be coming out and doing some of that stuff. I think Spire Sports, I think they were at the forefront. They were leading, in the whole NIL movement and getting work done from the very beginning. When things went legal and went live, they hit the ground running, and I don't think they've looked back. Now, have some other schools had collectives and NIL groups and stuff kind of catch up? Yeah, probably. But I think that they have done a remarkable job. At the end of the day, I think some of these kids, it isn't all about money, and there is still kind of the question of, Tennessee, they overachieved last year. Is it a gimmick system? Is that can you sustain success with what Josh Heupel and company, what they're trying to do? So I think that is some of the hesitation. We've had some guys in the chat say, if you look at it, this is really his first year having an actual recruiting class. So, I don't know. It's also new, and like you said, going into next year, I think you have the transfer portal and all that. It's gonna. I don't know if it's going to clear up things anymore or make them even murkier, but you're going to have a better idea of how things go.
Let me hit this super chat real quick. Travis Melvin for $20. That ain't cheap. $20 is not cheap. We appreciate that. It says GBO, love the show. Travis Melvin is a poet, but he didn't know it. We appreciate that. Very generous super chat. Thank you for the $20. We're going to continue to talk about this Tennessee defense. We're going to dive into the depth chart. We've really kind of been talking very broad to start the show, but that's good. It's been good conversation, been good, fun conversation. We're going to kind of dive into each position group now and get into it. But let's take a look at the merchandise. You can support this channel. You can go to bonfire.com/store/TalkinVols. You can pick up all the latest Talkin' Vols merch. We've got those brand new Talkin' Vols Elite. If you are an elite member of this channel, rep that with pride. Also, the state pride. You can see I'm wearing one now. Can't see the line, can you, Russ? Can't see the line. State pride's probably the top seller. We got the brand new Beat Bama, Beat Florida, Beat Georgia. Those would be, look, place that order now. Rep that inside of Neyland Stadium. What better way to show your Tennessee pride, but also Kentucky's daddy, because, look, we don't beat Kentucky. We own Kentucky. We are their daddy. You can pick up that shirt. But also the Retro Pride, all the old faithfuls. But again, pick it up, bonfire.com/store/TalkinVols. We would appreciate any and all support. Let's get into this depth chart, JP. Let's talk about, we've kind of talked a lot about the defensive line, and everybody's going to talk about Byron Young. That's the guy everybody is waiting to break out and have that big-time year. But who's another guy or two that you're looking at on this defensive line that you think has an opportunity to make an impact this fall?
Well, I mean, I think that it starts on the other side with Tyler Barron. Can he stay on the field? Can Barron stay healthy? I think that's one of his biggest things, and can he get more consistent? I mean, he's shown flashes of it, but then it's just like times that he would just disappear. And I know that he battled injuries there last year, so certainly him. I talked about him earlier. Mari Thomas, he's another one. I think that could potentially have a really strong year. And I know that there've been several people that's in the chat that's talked about Bryson Eason. I know Rodney Garner's been kind of speaking his name several times over the course of the spring and summer. So I'm certainly anxious to see what kind of potential impact that that Eason can have as well. But that's the four guys that as far as returning players. Now, as far as these freshman players, certainly Pearson Josephs, if they can find a way to get those guys, on third downs, find some special packages for those guys to where that they don't have to learn, and know the entire defense. But if they can find a way to get those guys on the field, in those obvious pass rushing situations, and just tell them to pin their ears back and get to the quarterback, and when you get to them, tackle him.
Do some wreck and shop.
Yeah.
Some
sure.
RLDs. We want some RLDs. Let me hit this $20 super chat from James Moody. Appreciate that, James. Look at James. Look at you. I got the leaderboard rolling across the bottom. James Moody, biggest all-time single donation of $200. That's not just once. He did that last fall, and then he dropped another $200 super chat this month. So James Moody, one of the biggest contributors to this this little shindig that we've got here over at the Talkin' VAWLS Network. James, very, very generous. We appreciate your support. Says this is truly the first time we as fans could truly contribute to landing the talent Tennessee needs to compete with Bama and the Gators. Give what you can. Let's help Spire land the players we need. Thank you, James, for the super chat. Well, yeah, Dauber, what do you think about that? Because, it's so easy as fans, right? It's so easy as fans to sit on your couch and say, Josh Heupel can't get it done. He can't recruit. You can blame Spire Sports Group. You can blame Danny White. Now we have an opportunity to make a difference with Spire Sports Group.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you've had guys like Nick Saban come out and, be critical of NIL. And all that comes along with it, because it's leveling the playing field.
Yep.
Because, and I'm not throwing out any accusations or allegations or anything like that, but Nick
Saban's been cheating for years. You heard it here first.
10K and a Dodge Charger doesn't go quite as far as it used to. So. It is one of those things. It is the opportunity for you to put your money where your mouth is, and invest in the program, because you showed it on their website there. 90% of the money goes towards NIL deals, and I think the other 10%, they're using to invest into. These different marketing of things that they're doing with the athletes, and then I'm sure some of it does go to the group itself. And
they also do marketing
operations. Yeah.
They do marketing for pro golfers, so that's what they're making some money there too. So both
that's what I'm talking to them about.
Golfing. You trying to get your card?
Yeah,
I've seen you play.
I got my polo on. See?
I know. Yeah, I know.
You just thought I was at work.
Making that Talkin' VAWLS money, just quit your job and play golf all day. Let's see how it is. There's a couple of guys on the defensive line that I want to talk about that I saw some people in the chat. Tyree West, obviously we mentioned James Pierce earlier, but I think Tyree West as a freshman is a guy that can come in and maybe get in the rotation. I don't know if it'll be early or not. Maybe we'll see him in certain situations, but a guy too that I've preached it to death. I love DeJoun Terry. I think he is a guy that is very athletic, got good size on the inside, and I think he's a guy that Rodney Garner loves. I think Coach Garner loves him, and I think we saw him progress last year. And I remember when he entered the portal and there was rumors of him coming to Tennessee, and watching his film and breaking down comments from his coaches at Kansas, like how much praise they gave him. And he's a guy that hasn't played a whole lot of football before entering the college scene. But I think he's a dude that maybe not this upcoming year, maybe not. What is DeJoun Terry? He's a junior. He's got a couple of years left. But he's a guy that I really like, and I think he can make a difference.
He's a big old guy, too.
And athletic for his size.
Yeah, Best I recall, he's tall and can carry that weight.
But does it concern you all any that, you've got a handful of guys that you know their names. They've seen some playing time, but we've not heard a lot of them really coming out of spring or fall, emerging and stepping up and being, the guy. You talk about Bumpus,
He's
Garland.
a big one. Can Bumpus stay healthy?
Garland. Yeah. Yeah, he's
Elijah,
hurt right now, isn't he?
Elijah
He's
Simmons
always
as
hurt.
well.
Yeah.
I do, like I said earlier, Bumpus, Garland, Elijah Simmons. I think Elijah Simmons has such a ceiling and such potential. Like Boogie said, DeJohn Terry. There are guys that we've seen them, for a play or two or a game come out and play well. Can they put it together?
I think so.
You look at Elijah Simmons and think about that play in Lexington up near the goal line. Man, if these guys can put it together, and we talked about it earlier. You're talking about the best defensive line coach in the country. So can Gardner get the best out of these guys?
If BY doesn't produce this fall, he's never going to produce. This is it. It's put up or shut up. I'm tired of talking about him, to be honest with you. We've been talking about him for years. It's almost like Jalen Hyatt, Jimmy Callaway, and Jimmy Holiday, right? The young wide receivers, the young edge rusher, they're no longer young. Like, it's time to put up or shut up. It's time to go out and get it done. That's it. Like you said, Dauber, it doesn't matter about stars, doesn't matter about potential. It's time to go out and perform on the field of play. We talked almost 41 minutes about defensive line. JP's
but that's loving it.
JP's
loving it.
It is the most important thing on the defense. It starts up front. But let's talk about the linebackers because, again, talking about guys with potential, guys that have an opportunity, Juwan Mitchell, to me, that's the one guy that I'm putting on blast. It's time to put up or shut up. You led Texas in tackles. You came to Tennessee. And I get it. He was beat up. He was banged up. His shoulder, I don't think he was ever healthy. He's still not healthy. He missed, he was limited throughout spring practice. But he's a guy that's got potential. And, I made a video on him this past week, and I played the clip from when he transferred in. And there were some big red flags that went up, and I was like, huh. But I put a positive spin on it because that's what I try to do. I'm a positive dude. I look for the best in people. But he basically said, I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about the playbook. I'm worried about getting to know my teammates. I'm like, bro, it's the fall. It's fall camp. You better be worried about yourself. You better be getting in shape. You better be learning the playbook. And we saw this guy, what did he play, 3 games? He had one good game. No, he played 3, but he didn't register a tackle in the opening game. Didn't register a tackle. Played 3 games. I think he had 1 good week. But he's a guy with a ton of potential. If he can come out and he can play up to par, JP, how can the linebackers be decent?
Yeah, possibly so with him and Banks, but I'll just go on record and say that I think anything that they get out of Mitchell is just going to be gravy because I'm just not convinced that he's going to hold up. And I don't know what all was going on there last year. I mean, I know that he was hurt some, but I don't think that he had bought in, and I don't know if that led to him, not fully recovering from his injury or what. So, he's definitely one. I know, Dauber, that you was talking about, some of the guys on the defensive line that we've seen, just a little of, and if that worries, but I'm not going to be penciling in Mitchell as a major contributor on this football team until I see it. I hope that I'm wrong there because I do think that we could certainly use his help for sure.
Well, given history, does he see the field over Beasley?
I think that if he's healthy,
but
and he's got his head on right, then yes, I do.
The year Beasley had though, second on the team in tackles with 84,
But if you get Texas Juwan Mitchell, Aaron
Right.
Beasley's not seeing the field.
Right.
But I think
And I agree, but if you look at history and history of late, I don't know. It is a big question mark.
I mean, I certainly appreciate what Beasley's done, and I hope that he improves. But I mean, he really struggled at times last year.
Well,
let's
face it.
He really struggled.
Let's face it. This position group we're talking about is being led by a converted running back.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's that's what I said earlier. I mean, to me, the defense. I mean, the linebackers is my biggest concern position wise on this entire football team. And if we could see, just marginal improvement from that group, I think that it would help this defense tremendously.
But if you want to take it a step further, look at next year. Like, I know we're focusing on 2022. This is the defensive preview for 2022. But the guys that we're concerned about, the guys that we're worried about, you're talking about Juwan Mitchell, whether or not he contributes. Aaron Beasley, does he contribute? I saw somebody in the chat earlier talking about Solon Page. The two deep is all seniors.
Yeah,
Boys,
I mean,
we're worried about four
young,
seniors. Yeah. And then we're going to move into 2023. And again, not to put too much on star rankings, but you've got 2 3-stars coming in as your linebackers. It is a problem. It is a concern. People get mad at me when I get negative. It's a freaking concern for this football team. The lack of ability to add somebody to the transfer portal, or quality through the transfer portal, and no disrespect to Jalen Smith or Jeremiah T. Like I said, when I watch their film, especially Jalen Smith, I really like his film. He takes good angles. He's quick. He gets to the ball carrier. I really like his tape. So I hope he works out. But it's a huge concern that you're losing all 4 guys in your 2 deep, and we're questioning all 4 guys in that 2 deep outside of Jeremy Banks. And he's got his problems. But I think Jeremy Banks is clearly the best linebacker on this football team. And like Dauber just said, he's a converted running back.
Yeah. What about – go ahead, Dauber. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say the biggest thing for him, he's got to clean up the personal fouls and the penalties.
He's just got to be more disciplined on the football field. I mean, whether it's committing those stupid penalties, but he also has to be more disciplined to make sure that he is following his reads and he's not getting out of position. And somebody mentioned it on the chat I saw earlier too. Hopefully he can get off blocks better too, because that was one of the areas that our linebackers so struggled with last year. I mean, if they was a lineman or a tight end or a running back or anybody that touched those guys, I mean, we just could not shed those blocks. So,
but it was even worse the prior year. I do think that and as the season went on, I think they got a little bit better. Like I said, you are talking about a team that was in the top 10 in tackles for loss. And all those weren't coming from your edge guys or your linemen. You got a lot from Banks and guys getting in the backfield. But at the same time, it's a super valid point that this is an area of concern for this team.
I think to disagree with you, if Henry T and Crouch came back, we would have been way better at linebacker last year than without him.
No doubt.
Gosh, yeah.
No doubt.
100%.
No doubt. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. The other thing to look about this position group, do they stay healthy? Because once you get past those, probably 4 guys, including Page.
You're going to be looking at some freshmen then.
Yeah, you're into Jackson Hanna.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think he's not a walk-on. Let's get that clear. We've said that before. He ain't a walk-on. That was an NIL deal to save his scholarship.
You're talking about those are guys that you expect to impact your team via special teams, not being out there starting at linebacker. So if you have 1 or 2 guys go down at the linebacker position, that's big time trouble.
What were you going to say, JP?
Yeah. What about William Mohan? I know that he didn't get many snaps last year, but those few snaps I got, I mean, he was flying to the football, and I mean, he was hitting those guys. I mean, obviously, I don't know, that they didn't feel confident enough to put him out there, but he's one that I would be interested to see if he makes some noise maybe this fall camp.
I'd like to see him make some plays on special teams, continue to do, like you said, fly to the football, and then maybe he can be a guy that kind of alleviates losing those top 4 guys, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be ready for 2023 because
yeah. And what about the Herring kid this year, Elijah? What position is he? More of an inside backer, or are they looking at him as an outside?
I think he's inside.
Yeah, so I could see him getting snaps for sure.
I think he probably redshirts unless it's absolute need. And if it's absolute need, if it's need, then
I mean, all of that depends on what he does in fall camp. Because
and that's true.
Winning the job is different than need, like Dauber's saying.
Yeah. If it's need, then I feel that there are dark days ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Travis Regard, for becoming a member of the channel. We appreciate that. We're on a membership campaign. I've not even plugged it all night. I'm trying to focus on the conversation, give you guys what you want, the content that you want. But we are on this grind for more memberships. So if you like what we do, if you enjoy the content, whether you watch live, you catch the replays, whatever it is, you can financially support this channel. Hit the join button down below, as little as 99 cents a month. That's it. Just 99 cents a month. It's basically like saying here's $1 every month for all the videos you drop, all the live streams that you guys do, all the content you provide. I dig it. Here's $1. Hit that join button down below. You can also give a little bit more, $2.99, $4.99, $9.99, whatever you want to do. But once we get into the fall, we're going live 4 nights a week, and we're going to do a fan call-in show every single Sunday night. Every Sunday night. And what that means is it's your show. All the members of the channel that pay a certain amount are going to be invited to come on, and it's your show. Whether it's me, Dauber, JP, whoever comes and hangs out on Sunday night, we're going to keep our mouths shut. We're going to shut up, and we're going to let you guys talk. For the fans, by the fans means something around here. So hit that join button, and you will get invited onto that fan call-in show every single Sunday night. We got to figure out when we're going to fire that up. We may fire up the midweek streams maybe during fall camp. We'll see. And then we'll do the fan call-ins once we kind of get into the season. Smokey Dobson becomes a member of the channel. We appreciate that. Adding another tip to the old tip jar. Thank you for the support. We're almost 53 minutes into this thing. It was time to move on. Yeah, look at Xavier. Xavier just preaching the truth. Preaching the truth. Xavier was a member of the channel. He came on for a fan call-in show. Everybody loved Xavier. Now he jumps on with me all the time for these live commitments. Xavier is going to fill in during the season. Look, JP's part-time. I don't know if JP has the emotional capacity to handle the post-game show, but he likes those midweek shows. He's like, Boogie, I can do it when there's no pressure, there's no emotion. I like that midweek show. So maybe the post-game show is me, Dauber, and Xavier. You can become a host if you come onto those fan call-in shows and you win over the crowd. Buck says, Xavier, you're wrong. Nobody thinks you're a fan favorite except for Boogie. Maybe. I don't know. I see it. It's the truth. I see it in the chat all the time. Dakota says, nobody likes you, Xavier. Oh, my gosh. The Tuesday night crew just absolutely hating on each other. Absolutely hating on you. Well, we got to move on. Let's jump into the secondary.
What's that position that Jordan Phillips plays? Is he a defensive lineman?
I think he's going to be on the inside, right?
So he's
yeah.
Interior, okay.
Defensive tackle. And I'm glad you brought him up. Before we move on, let's talk about him because he's a guy that was an early enrollee. He participated in a couple of bowl practices, and Rodney Garner said, "Hey, this dude gets it." Like he had a lot of praise for a kid that was still in high school.
Yeah, and that's critical because stuff like that adds depth. You know, coming in early, participating in the bowl practices, being in that environment, it just helps. And that's one thing we didn't talk about. You look back to last year. How many of those kids in last year's class were early enrollees? It was
A lot.
Almost
And I think you're
almost
going to see it
double digits,
trending.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Almost
you're going to
double
see
digits.
it trending that way. That's what it's
Yeah.
going to be.
And I think that only serves to help the team.
Let me hit another member here. Red Rum Man becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that, buddy. Thank you for the support. A lot of new members rolling in, guys. Like I said, as little as 99 cents a month. You guys hit a certain number, we're going to do a live stream, and all it's going to say is watch me quit my job live on air. I'm going to tell my boss what for. You guys are going to watch it. It's going to be great. I can't wait. Let's move into the secondary. I was going to say something. Oh, I wanted to make a point about Jordan Phillips since JP brought it up and we were kind of talking about it in the early enrollees. You know, I think something this coaching staff said about that was a guy like Jordan Phillips, you're not really going to grasp anything in those few practices. Like you're not going to, I'm going to learn a certain technique or I'm going to learn this formation or that. What you're understanding is this is what practice looks like. This is how fast it is. This is what I'm expected to do versus coming in during the spring when it's complete chaos, or even worse, coming in during the fall.
And those eyes being
Deer in
wide open.
headlights.
Yeah.
Deer in headlights. You have no idea what's going on versus there's really no expectation of you during a bowl practice, but they're just kind of letting you see that and what it looks like. So,
well, that and you know, just the grind, you know, that goes on, you know, during the course of this season and you know, the wear and tear, you know, I mean, that's why it's impressive when you see these true freshmen come in and be able to compete at that high of a level. So, you know, it's tough.
Let's jump into the secondary here. And when we talk about the transfer portal, this is where I really feel like Tennessee did a good job adding some talent in the secondary. And let's be honest, boys, I have no idea what this secondary is going to look like. I have no idea. You know, you go and you Google depth chart, and it's complete chaos. Is Kamal Haddon going to be a starter?
Like a phone book.
Yeah, it's nuts. Warren Burrell. I don't think Warren Burrell is going to start this fall. I really don't. I don't think he's going to be a starter. You got Andre Turrentine, the transfer from Ohio State. You've got Walker, the transfer from Georgia Tech. Who's going to play the star position? One thing's for sure. When I look at this secondary, the guy that I think is going to be the new Alante Taylor, that's Brandon Turnage. Whether he plays star, whether he plays corner, I think he's going to be the best defensive back in this group. JP, you agree, disagree?
Honestly, he's the one that transferred from Bama last year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, with that. I mean, I was going to say same thing that you kind of said. I have no idea how this secondary is going to shake out. I just know that we need to get better. We need more speed, especially on the back end. You know, at that safety position, I think that I'd read that McCullough had slimmed down a little bit. It seemed like, and you know, Flowers, of course. You know, I mean, both of those guys have tons of experience, so it's not a experience issue or anything like that. It's just, can those guys get more consistent, and you know, can they do a better job of covering and not giving up those big plays with that. But I definitely think that there's competition. I mean, there's no doubt about that there is competition, and to me, on the defensive side of the ball, yes, I know it's important with the linebackers at this fall camp to see if they can get somebody to step up there besides Banks, and to maybe fill that other role, and then also get some depth there. But to me, this is the most important position battles for the defense is to see who's going to come out on top and be those starters. And is there anybody like the Christian Charles kid that can potentially push McCullough or Flowers for one of those starting positions? And can there be somebody step up, kind of like that we saw last year with I never can remember his name.
Theo Jackson.
Why I cannot remember Theo Jackson? I have no idea. But is there going to be one of those players that nobody thought about that, that's my hope. That's my hope that is, that's Flowers, or perhaps that's McCullough, that everybody kind of just wrote off and said, oh, he's he is what he is, and so forth like that. But then really is able to turn it on their senior year and have one of those really strong seasons.
What's interesting for me, though, is talking about the star position, which that's where Theo Jackson played, and we saw Brandon Turnage plug in when Theo Jackson was out and didn't skip a beat. Like, he balled out. And what excites me what excites me about Christian Charles is how many reps he got at corner during the spring. And he's a guy that we're talking about, can he step up and take a safety spot? And now they're talking about him playing corner. Where does D. Williams end up? The JUCO transfer. That kid has a lot of potential. Andre Turrentine, Wesley Walker. There is so much talent, unproven talent. Don't get me wrong, it's unproven, but it's what I'm the most excited to watch this fall, Dauber, is the secondary and see what it looks like. I have no idea.
Yeah. And all these names that you're throwing out, and JP, I was going to say Christian Charles, but he threw him in there at the end. Denico Slaughter. That's another kid that showed flashes and has potential. Could he take over as star? There is a lot of talent and like you said, unproven talent, but I expect Flowers to be a guy that steps up, probably playing the free safety position and be a leader on the back end there. It's a case of we talked about it a lot last year. Are you going to see some of these young guys step up, especially early on when the secondary was struggling, when you had guys that you thought were going to be, studs that were struggling? We kept saying, when are these guys? Give some of these young guys a chance. Well, it's their time now, So you're going to have guys step up. Turnage, Haddon, Burrell. There's enough guys that have gotten some reps, some experience in big games. But you've also had guys that have gone out there and made some pretty big mistakes. So it's can they learn from it? Can they grow and get better? And we talked about it at the top end of the show with the defensive line. You can't throw everything on the secondary in terms of criticism, because if you're allowing a quarterback 5 to 7, 8 seconds to pick apart a defense, these guys can only they can only provide so much coverage, short of tackling somebody. If you're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, I don't care who you got out there. But there's enough talent that somebody should be stepping up and rising to the top and showing out. We should have somebody filling in those spots that Taylor and guys vacated from last year.
Yeah, and I think one of the big reasons why the secondary is so unique this fall camp is not only the influx of portal guys that have that Tennessee signed, but also the fact, and I saw it here in the chat, there were so many of our defensive backs that were out of spring practice. There wasn't hardly any scholarship defensive backs that were available for spring, because all of them was injured and recovering from injuries or having off-season surgeries and so forth like that. So again, I feel like that this secondary battle, whoever is going to come out, especially at these corner positions, that's probably going to be one of the most hotly contested position battles of fall camp. And hopefully that even the ones that don't come out on top and be the ultimate game game one starters, that's going to push them guys to get better, because there's no doubt about it. At some point in time during the course of the season, that you're going to need more corners out there for sure.
Well, and that's, you bring that up, and that is something that I wanted to see a couple years ago in the quarterback position. Guys pushing each other to be better. Because right now you've got a heap of talent, a heap of potential, guys that are so athletic in the secondary, and they need to push each other, because that's how you get better. And like you said, it's not necessarily who starts, because at some point the grind of the SEC schedule, all these guys are going to need to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all three levels are going to, complement each other. You got to get a pass rush. You got to be able to get a pass rush with 4. Everything we've talked about tonight, it's one thing leads to the next. Got to get a pass rush with 4. You got to have better linebacker play. We got to figure out who's going to get it done in the secondary. We're a little over an hour. I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Go ahead, JP.
Wasn't there talk, Boogie, that from what I remember, wasn't there talk that Ohio State wasn't really thrilled that Turntine left? I think that coaching staff up there was wanting him to stick around from some things that I and read,
their fans too. When I made the transfer portal video, a lot of their fans were commenting on it, saying, "You guys got a good one. He's a good player." And that's what excites me. There's a lot of good young talent, but again, can they earn their way on the field? We just don't know what it's almost like the linebacker position last year. Like spring practice was irrelevant. We have no idea what the secondary is going to look like. But when you talk about Turrentine and Walker and Christian Charles and Haddon, what is this secondary going to look like? Turnage. I think Turnage is going to be a baller. I bring up the same game all the time, but when Theo Jackson was out, Brandon Turnage was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. That's not by Player of the Week. Not by accident. That's not by accident. So
was it like 13 tackles or
something ridiculous? And he never really saw the field other than that week. So does he take that star position and thrive, or does he kind of become a lockdown corner? He's a dude that I'm excited about, man. And Christian Charles playing corner and this coaching staff praising him. I'm like, all right, give me Turnage and Charles on the outside. Give me Walker in the slot. And if Trayvon Flowers is having the good spring that the coaching staff is acting like, what's coach speaking, what's not? Because they're talking about how good Trayvon Flowers looks, how he's in shape, McCullough's in shape. Is it true? Or are we going to get into this season and be like, all right, these guys are too slow. Like, they're not getting it done. We'll find out.
We'll see.
We'll find out this fall.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Let's wrap this thing up. Like I said, we're over an hour breaking down the defense. Thank you guys for tuning in. Show some support to this channel. Hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it. Anybody catching the replay, if you didn't join the channel, join it now. Hit that join button down below. Give us $1. Give us $1 a month. We would greatly appreciate it. 13,000 subscribers. If everybody gives $1, if every one of you 13,000 cats joins the channel, I'm done with work. I'm sticking it to the man, and we're going to be live streaming in the morning, in the evening, all the time. We're going to be hanging out talking Tennessee football, but we appreciate you guys that show up, show out, show love. You make this channel what it is. I say this all the time. I never in a million years, I love what we do. These two dudes are real life friends. I was going to get way too personal. I'll get way too personal. When my mom died, Dauber was one of the first dudes that was on my front porch saying, I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need. That's real life. That's not YouTube. That's not fake. It's reality. Dauber, JP, Indie Kid, Snake, everybody that's ever been on this channel, that's real life. It's real life. But we come on YouTube, and I never thought it would become this community where I would go hang out with dudes like Xavier and Jason and Culbertson and Joel and all these people, man, that I talk to Brad in the chat every single day. Every day I message with Brad on Facebook. We've built a community, boys, and it is strong and it is growing. We appreciate the support. We're going to wrap this thing up. For Dauber, for JP, my name is Boogie Bentley. We love you guys. We'll catch you soon. Make sure you subscribe, dialed in. We'll probably bring you another live stream real quick. tomorrow night. In fact, tomorrow night we're going to be breaking down SEC Media Day. So join us 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But that's going to do it. He's Dauber. He's JP. My name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin' VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That we call